This year, a major revolution took place in the production of fertilizers. Before now, we were importing most of our fertilizer, and we were paying somewhere in the order of about 10,000 and sometimes even higher, 12,000 naira for the fertilizer. But this year, things improved dramatically because the presidential initiative on fertilizer started with an attempt to resolve the problem once and for all. Part of what that presidential initiative did was to give a loan, a concessionary loan for working capital to Nigerian-based blending plants. So Nigerian blending plants had a working capital loan so that they could begin to blend fertilizer. But the thing with fertilizer is that we have a substantial part of all that is required we have locally. But phosphate we have to import, and potash we have to import. So we struck a deal with the Moroccans. We now have a government-to-government deal with the Moroccan government, which also has some private sector facilitation. And we're importing phosphate directly from the Moroccan government and getting potash from Europe. We are now able to use our own blending plants to produce fertilizer at a very, very cheap rate. As a matter of fact, we're able to deliver fertilizer today to farmers at 5,500, almost half of what it used to be. But more importantly, there's a whole industry around fertilizer production. It's a whole industry. We're now using warehouses in the seaports. We're even using the rail transport more frequently now because we're able to move fertilizer around. And of course, there are several thousands of jobs being created just around this new fertilizer industry. We hope that we'll be able to produce about 1 million metric tons of fertilizer for the rainy season, for the rainy season planting period, and also another 500,000 for the dry season planting period. All of these are very great news around some of what we're seeing in agriculture. In stabilizing the macro economic environment, we've focused on aligning our fiscal with monetary policy and nudging the central bank in the general direction of allowing a more market-determined exchange rate. We're also working on replacing some of the 41 items not valid for foreign exchange with a more trade policy-driven restrictions, taking into account those items that are required and locally unavailable, which we must, of course, continue to import. As of 2015, when we assumed office, 2/3 of the states had been owing salaries for months. We began a systematic scheme of support for the states in 3 phases. I only recently paid 25% of Paris Club refunds, a debt owed to states since 2005. All of these interventions were able to ensure that the states survive the recession and workers can continue to earn their pay and also support their families. Now, there are all manner of arguments around the support that the federal government has provided for the states. There are those who say that they shouldn't be supported at all. There are those who say that perhaps the support should come with some preconditions. What we've tried to do is to ensure that we have put in place some preconditions for providing the support. We believe, of course, that the states, and as we all know, the states constitute the nation. And once the states are disadvantaged fundamentally, one way or the other, as they were, when they simply didn't have the money to pay salaries, the whole economy suffers. And of course, that reflects on the performance of the entire economy. So we've tried very hard to ensure that the states meet some preconditions before some of the bailouts and some of the assistance that was given to the states. Inflation has slowed down, thankfully, and year on year, I think we're down by 1%. There are, of course, several issues, several reasons why we experience the type of inflation that we experience. Economists will say that largely it has been cost-push inflation, on account of rising exchange rates and some of the other issues, some of the other problems that we've experienced. But we hope that we'll be able to that it will slow down and reduce as we implement some of the other policies which we hope will be able to bring it down permanently. Interest rates have remained high, and of course there's a lot of criticism around that. But the truth of the matter, of course, is that we may not be able to do much about interest rates immediately. But we think that what we're trying to do at the moment, which is using a lot of the development banks for intervention funds in the critical sectors, is what might at least be mitigating for now. So we're trying to get intervention funds in agriculture through the BOA, intervention funds for small and medium-scale enterprises through BOI, that's the Bank of Industry. We also, of course, started the Development Bank of Nigeria, which is the main vehicle for intervention funds. And we think that at least we may be able to, in the critical sectors, be able to get cheap funds to those sectors of the economy that require it. But bringing down the interest rates, of course, will involve our borrowing less, from the domestic market. At the moment, we're borrowing substantially from the domestic market, and that will be one of the ways by which we can actually reduce interest rates. We've rationalized public expenditure by ensuring fiscal discipline, by rigorously ensuring that all workers, 60% or so of them at the moment, are registered on IPIS, which is our electronic payment platform. So we've been able to remove or reduce ghost workers. I think about 58,000 odd or so have been taken out of the payroll, and we've saved close to 92 billion between January 2016 and April 2017. It's incredible how many ghosts you can actually have in any one country. By rationalizing overhead expenditure, we've saved substantial amounts on travel, sitting allowance, honorariums, and meals and refreshments. The focus on good governance and anti-corruption is a fundamental doctrine of our government. From the campaigns till now, the President repeatedly said that corruption is an existential problem for Nigeria. We die as a nation or corruption dies, which is essentially what he has said. Because corruption in our nation is systemic, cutting across society's major pillars and arms of government, it would have been naive to expect that it would be easy to deal with corruption. As a matter of fact, you would notice that corruption has been boldly fighting back through well-established, well-funded entities, and in some cases, even government institutions.